The evolution of Super Smash Bros. Is a sight to behold. What began as a peculiar fighting game, platformer, party game hybrid pitting different Nintendo characters against each other has evolved into the Avengers of video games, holding the lofty title of the biggest crossover in the industry's history. By the time the second Fighters Pass for Smash Ultimate is done, there will be 86 members of the roster, but even if we tripled that number, there would still be people lobbying for different characters to get in. That might make Smash fans seem kind of entitled, and to an extent that's true, but I would also argue that it shows just how much of an honor it is to be represented in this celebration of the history of video games. All you need to do is look up reaction videos for each character reveal, and you'll see just how much a character getting into Smash Bros. Can mean to people. I still remember how excited I was on February 14th, 2014 when Little Mac got announced for Smash 4. For a good chunk of my life there, it was the best Valentine's Day I'd ever had. So today, we're going to go over the characters who would elicit a similar response from me if they ever got the nod to join the roster. I'll be judging these characters on a combination of potential for movesets and how much I want them in Smash combined with how likely I think their chances would actually be. I mean, if I'm being honest, most of these characters' odds of inclusion are slim at best, but hope springs eternal, especially for this franchise. The only rule of eligibility on this list is that they cannot be represented in Smash Ultimate already. So characters that are assist trophies, Pokemon summons, stage hazards, bosses, and spirits will not be considered. The only exception I'll make is for Mii outfits, because there are plenty of characters on the roster that have some avatar attire available. So let's get this party started. These are my top 10 Super Smash Bros. Wishlist characters. One of the more subtle aspects of the Smash Bros. Fighting mechanics is the different elemental effects of certain attacks. It doesn't typically affect the outcome compared to something like Pokemon, but it is still pretty cool how Pikachu's moveset is primarily electric based, a Captain Falcon special attack is likely to cause some pyrotechnics, and Ganondorf's got plenty of offense infused with dark magic. But one of the elements that's criminally underutilized are the ice attacks. I mean, the Ice Climbers have a few, but more of their attacks are centered around their balance and putting me back in therapy. I want a character whose core combat mechanic is cryomancy. So let's start this off with Metroid Prime 3's Rundas. Despite being one of the longest running Nintendo franchises and having its protagonist as one of Smash's original 12, Metroid was grossly underrepresented for a very long time. Until Ultimate added Ridley and Dark Samus, the only fighters available from this franchise were two different versions of the same character, and it took until Smash 4 for them to take up their own separate slots. Even now, with more representation via new characters and spirits, Rundas, a fan favorite of the franchise, is conspicuous by his absence in Ultimate. As we know from his boss fight in Corruption, Rundas was basically on par with Samus in terms of combat ability, so there's plenty to work with when designing a moveset. His Icicle Pillars could be a good down special, his Frozone styled ramps would work wonderfully as a recovery move, and his final smash could be the activation of his own Hyper Mode with the use of the Ice Flail. Ultimately, the fact that he was a one-off character on a game on the Nintendo Wii probably means he's got a snowball's chance in Texas of making it, but I still think he'd be a pretty cool entrant. And we gotta stop here before these ice puns get out of hand. Actually, now I think about it, a snowball's chance in Texas is a lot better than it used to be. Even though they are by far the most family-friendly of the big three, Nintendo has shown that they're willing to put characters from M-rated games into Sakurai's system-selling slugfest. Bayonetta and Joker are more recent inclusions from games that probably are not fit for the kiddies, but that has been a reality going back all the way to Solid Snake's inclusion in Brawl. Speaking of Snake, it's not a stretch to say that he is one of the most important characters in the franchise's history. Not only was he the first M-rated inclusion, he was also the first third-party character, opening doors for icons such as the Blue Blur, the Blue Bomber, and the Yellow Pie Chart. He's also from what I would consider the most realistic franchise to be represented in Smash, but please take that with a massive grain of salt. So for an M-rated third-party character that falls on the unrealistic side of the Metal Gear threshold, I nominate Doom Guy. Unless you count Dark Samus, the only character currently in Smash Bros. To debut in a first-person shooter is Duck Hunt. And if Doom Guy found his way into the game, there would probably be plenty of things I would do to him to cause physical harm to Duck Hunt. These things would hopefully include his myriad of firearms, most of which fall into the Star Fox category of unrealistic enough to not make parents angry. Even the chainsaw could work as the various smash attacks as long as you remove the blood. Top it off with the BFG 9000 Final Smash, and we're in business. As of now, there reportedly haven't been any serious talks about putting Guy into Smash Bros, hence his placement at only number 9, but I hope that changes soon. Before they got purchased by Microsoft, Bethesda and Nintendo seem to be on pretty good terms given the fact that the Doom titles were released on the Switch, and if Smash Bros is going to continue to be this celebration of gaming history it has been, then having the original FPS character would only be fitting. Here's hoping Microsoft will play ball. Otherwise, we're just stuck with Duck Hunt. Lucky us. Super Smash Bros. Has long been a place for scores to be settled. That's why the term "settle it in Smash" exists. Whether you're looking to crown the true king of the platformers from the early 90s, earn some sweet revenge for all those defeats in Punch-Out Wii, or just trying to decide between options for dinner, there's always a way for a feud to be resolved in Sakurai's playpen of pulverization. And it just so happens that I believe that Smash Bros. Would be the perfect neutral field to settle one of the oldest rivalries in the history of video games. I think you know what I'm talking about. From the moment that Ryu found his way onto the roster, the hype has been building for a representative from Street Fighter's ancestral arcade adversary. And even though Mortal Kombat has only recently made its return to a Nintendo console, Ed Boon has gone on record to say he would love a character from the old Fatality Funhouse to find their way into Smash. So if we take these wishes and add them to an amalgamation of my reasons for the first 2 entries on this list, then the final result of this little slice of Steiner math is none other than Sub-Zero. I'm about as good at Mortal Kombat as I am at flirting with pretty girls. Really the only difference is that my MK matches are less gruesome and hard to watch. I bring this up because I hate myself, but more so because Sub-Zero is the only character in the series I ever got even remotely good at, despite my best attempts to master my spirit animal, Johnny Cage. I know Scorpion's kunai is more iconic, and I would love to hear him tell someone like Luigi to get over here! I just think that Sub-Zero has more to offer in regards to making a Smash Bros. Character. Fighting game characters are typically fairly easy to make Smash Bros. Movesets for, and the Lin Kuei Grandmaster is no exception. The Quarry Blade would make perfect sense for the various Smash attacks since Quilian can literally make it out of nowhere with water vapor. Now as for the various special attacks, I'm thinking his Ice Ball for a standard special, the Slide attack for a side special, and I think the Ice Clone could actually make a really interesting counter. Think of it like Incineroar's Rage, except instead of powering up your next attack, it causes the attack to be frozen on the spot just like in the source material. Actually, now I think about it, that's probably closer to Bayonetta's Witch Time, but you get the idea. All you need is something for a recovery and a final smash that won't jack up the game's age rating, and you're all set. Plus, if you want the roster to be perfectly balanced, as all things should be, Cyber Sub-Zero could work as an Echo Fighter to be the Ken to normal Sub-Zero's Ryu. I also love the prospect of a Mortal Kombat stage because there are so many different choices, and if you replace the normal announcer with Shao Kahn on that one stage, then you are going way over the top, and I am definitely here for it. I just want to point out that not a single ice pun was made during this entire segment. There was significant pressure to do so, especially toward the end there, but I didn't crack. You know why? Because I got ice water in my veins.
We were so close!
Roll the intro music! Lu Bu has had Cleveland Browns levels of luck finding a decent challenge across the entire Dynasty Warriors franchise, so maybe you should take a crack at the Smash Bros. Roster instead. Despite the fact that I use this theme as my intro song, I really don't have as much experience with the non-Zelda Warriors games as you might imagine. Still, I do have enough to know that if anyone's going to represent the franchise on the big stage of Super Smash Bros., he's the guy to do it. There really are no proper spear characters in the series so far, so Lu Bu and his various halberds would fill that niche quite nicely. I also think his crossblades from Dynasty Warriors 6 could work as a side special, kinda like what Pit had back in Brawl, just with less annoying yelling. His final smash would have to include red hair in some way. Perhaps the Tsunami from the Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends intro. Basically what I'm saying is that if you want to pursue Lu Bu, it better be to deliver a Smash Bros. Invitation if you want to live to tell about it. Pokemon is the only franchise to receive a new Smash Bros. Representative in each new game in the series, so it's not too hard to make the argument that it should be one of the last franchises not named Fire Emblem to be getting yet another fighter on the roster. But allow me to pull a Colress and disagree for a moment. I think another Pocket Monster would be a fine inclusion, it just needs to be the right one. And if you're asking me to choose which one's the right one, which you kind of are since you're watching this video, then I choose you, Rillaboom. Rillaboom being added to Super Smash Bros. Would knock out 2 flying types with 1 rock throw. Firstly, it would mean that the newest generation of Pokemon would have someone to represent it, and secondly, it would mean that all 3 starter types would finally have fully evolved Pokemon available to choose. I think Rillaboom's drumsticks could work well for all of his normal attacks, with the drum itself being played for specials, all of which could be variations on his signature move Drum Beating, especially if the up special uses the resulting roots as a tether for recovery. And speaking of beating with a drum, I think it'd be hilarious if the smash attacks met in the middle and Rillaboom hit people with the actual drum. Nothing would make me happier than to give my friends the occasional percussion concussion. This one feels very close to breaking the rules of this countdown. As I said at the beginning, any character that's already in the game in any capacity is not eligible for consideration. So it's with a heavy heart that I say that Midna is not on this list. But alas, even though one of my all-time favorite Zelda characters has been relegated to the Assist Trophy squad, hope is not lost because I found a loophole. For you see, this isn't even her final form. Now before anyone starts to protest, I just want to point out that Twilight Midna is not in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in any capacity, not even as a spirit. I would know, I went and unlocked every single one just to be sure. The true form of your Twilight Princess companion is present only after you deal the final blow to Ganondorf, so there really is not much to work with from the original source material in regards to making a moveset. Therefore, I hope you understand why basically all of what I'm about to suggest comes verbatim from Hyrule Warriors, where Twilight Midna is not only fleshed out, but given an almost god-tier toolkit that provides something for every single aspect of a Smash Bros. Moveset. Let's do this one piece at a time. Normal attacks, another opportunity for a proper spear character. Grabs and smash attacks, Zan hands will do for that. Standard special, fire the Lake Hylia cannon. Side special,
turn the wolves loose.
Up special, find some way for her to climb up the bridge. Down special, tone down the power of the Twilight Blast a little bit, because frankly that thing's ridiculous at full strength, and you're good. Final smash, trap your opponents in the mirror of Twilight like you're a red-headed Zelda, shed a single solitary tear, and then sweep up the shattered pieces after the victory screen has sung your praises. Taunt? Snap your fingers, pet a wolf, or hum a few notes of your own theme song like the badass you are. That, my friends, is what we call a clean sweep. Let's move on. When it comes to Sakurai's digital Donnybrook, Capcom has been treated very well. They're currently tied with Konami for the most fighters from a third party. Ryu and Ken were given unique control schemes for those that prefer a more traditional fighting game, along with an absolute love letter of a World of Light section. And if it wasn't for Sonic the Hedgehog breaking the internet on October 10, 2007, I would say that Mega Man had the most hype-inducing reveal trailer in history. I am mostly indifferent to Capcom, but considering Konami's puzzling proclivity for pachinko presently, I wouldn't mind giving them one more slot to break the tie. And if we're gonna do that, there's only one man for the job.
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
I only just recently got around to finally playing a Devil May Cry game for the first time. That doesn't change the fact that I love Dante as a character, and I'm definitely not the only one. Remember, it wasn't too long ago that speculation of Dante being the final character in the first Fighter's Pass was running wild.
You know, before we all remembered that we hadn't paid our Fire Emblem quota for a while. Good times.
As far as a moveset goes, it shouldn't be too hard to include the various weapons you get from Fallen Foes and DMC games, including those ice nunchucks, please and thank you. And the fact that Joker has a move simply titled Gun means that Ebony and Ivory are definitely fair game. The Devil Trigger is a logical choice for a final smash, and the motorcycle could be an up special because I've seen this man drive it up the side of a building, so don't tell me it wouldn't work for recovery. The biggest hurdle to Dante's inclusion in Super Smash Bros. Is probably the fact that he's been a mainstay in Marvel vs. Capcom since 2011. But given the quality of the last Smash Bros. Game versus the quality of the last Marvel vs. Capcom game, I don't think too many people would be all that upset if Dante jumped ship. I mean, if that's not an option, we could always get one of the X-Men. Lord knows they're not busy at the moment. Now is a good time to point out that this list does not have a rule limiting me to just one character per franchise. Because if it did, this next character would have been disqualified not once, but twice. That's because the character in question requires us to go back to good old Hyrule Warriors. But before I reveal who it is, some justification. Even though it's only outranked by Mario, Pokemon, and for some reason Fire Emblem in terms of total representatives, I believe that The Legend of Zelda is actually still underutilized by Smash Bros. When you break it down, 3 of the 6 fighters are variations on one character, and 2 others used to be one fighter before they were split apart a la Samus and Zero Suit. There have been plenty of unique characters throughout the franchise's history that have been passed over by Sakurai's funfair of fisticuffs, and it's as surprising as it is disappointing. I think the biggest culprit in this neglect is the fact that most side characters in Zelda don't get involved in combat all that much, which probably makes coming up with a moveset more time consuming. This is why someone from Hyrule Warriors would work so well. Everyone has a moveset tailored to combat, and crucially, none of its original characters are currently spirits in Ultimate. My first instinct was to go with Volga, but since his cousin Lu Bu already claimed a spot on this list, I think he would be kind of redundant. So who's number 3? I'll let the announcer tell you.
Linkle!
I decided to go with Linkle because of all the characters that originated in Hyrule Warriors. I feel that she is the most to offer in terms of making a fun Smash Bros. Moveset. I mean, Lana technically has more weapons, but at least 2 of those aren't even that fun to use, so why bring them over to Smash? Linkle's weapons of choice are the dual crossbows and the boots, and also unlike Lana, I think both of those could be put into a moveset together without stepping on each other's toes. Have the boots serve as the normal attacks along with some sort of stomp-based down special, and leave the other specials to the crossbows. The only exception should be the up special, which I think should be centered around some cuckoos given how often they appear in Linkle's missions in Legend mode. Speaking of cuckoos, they should also serve as a brutally hilarious final smash. Maybe Linkle's compass casts a blinding light in a radius around her, and anyone caught in it finds themselves in position to be pummeled by a pack of pissed off poultry. The reason Linkle lands higher than Twilight Midna on this list is the fact that Hyrule Warriors is a much more recent game than Twilight Princess, therefore making it far more relevant. But really, I'd be happy if either of these 2 made it into Smash Bros, whether it's Twilight Midna or Linkle. Then again, if it is the latter, we do run the risk of her getting an invitation only to get lost along the way. A lot of good that compass does, let me tell you. Even though we have now seen the inclusion of plenty of non-Nintendo characters into Sakurai's carnival of chaotic combat, being featured on a Nintendo system is basically still a requirement to earn a roster spot. In fact, of the 80 plus characters currently playable in Smash Bros. Ultimate, there isn't a single one that hasn't been featured on a big-end console at least once in their history. Even characters like Cloud and Terry found their way onto a Nintendo system here and there. Every single character talked about so far has met this requirement, even if it was just a port of an older game in the cases of Dante and Lu Bu. Number 2 is the only character on this list that has absolutely no relation to Nintendo in any way. I know that means the odds of this character's inclusion are basically 0, but in the same way I keep hoping against hope for a new F-Zero game, my hope is that someday I might see Aloy in Super Smash Bros. Aloy doesn't get this high just because she is one of my all-time favorite characters from one of my all-time favorite games. She gets this high because in addition to that, she has an arsenal of weapons and tools that would be very conducive to a moveset in Smash the likes of which we have never seen before. Her spear could function for normal and special attacks without too much issue, and the bow is an obvious candidate for the standard special, especially if she can cycle through the various arrow types the way Olimar plucks different types of Pikmin. But Aloy's combat abilities are really all about pinning down and taking apart giant machines, so making her into some sort of trap master would be a really unique playstyle that Smash really doesn't have at the moment outside of some items and 1 or 2 moves in Snake's arsenal. The rope caster could work as a grab or an up special, but given how it's used in Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it also has the potential to be a really unique side special. Here's my pitch. If you hit someone with it, in addition to doing a modicum of damage, it also ties the fighter down to a limited radius from the tether point for a brief duration, or until they take the time to go and break it. This could allow Aloy to set up some really interesting combos, and it also has the potential to be absolutely lethal if for some reason you don't mind playing on a moving stage. As for a down special, I also have a really unique idea for the Tripcaster. You shoot it directly into the ground at Aloy's feet at 2 different spots on a single platform, and a tripwire is created. Any opponent who touches the wire receives damage. Of course, there would obviously need to be a space limit, so this couldn't be abused on a place like Bridge of Eldin. Perhaps there's a small light at the top of the spike in the ground that turns off if you get out of acceptable range. The wire could also do less damage the bigger it is within said range, so a small tripwire might not cover a lot of ground but will really pack a punch if you get someone to touch it. And finally, just imagine a final smash where Aloy overrides some powerful machine like a Thunderjaw or Stormbird and annihilates everything in her path. There would really be only one way to describe it. More than anyone else so far, Aloy has the potential to be a character in Super Smash Bros. Unlike any other. The fact that she's also such a likable character from one of the best games of a year that's considered one of the greatest years in gaming history only reinforces my desire to see her get an invite. The only thing keeping her from the top spot on this list is her exclusivity to Team PlayStation, who we all know has trouble playing with others. You have no idea how much I wanted to put Aloy at the top spot. But like I said at the beginning, in addition to potential for a moveset and personal preference, I was also taking actual likelihood into account, and that final category just did her no favors. But with all three qualifications in mind, there was a clear choice as to who belongs at number 1 on a wish list for Sakurai's hard-hitting hootenanny. There is one character that is arguably the biggest missing piece in the Smash Bros. Puzzle. So who takes the crown? None other than the crownless king. It is absolutely baffling to me that Travis Touchdown has still not found his way into a Smash Bros. Game outside of a mere Mii costume. In my opinion, he checks every possible box you need to check. He's from a franchise that aside from one HD port to the PS3 has been a Nintendo exclusive since the beginning, and yet has no current Smash representation. He has a toolkit of weapons and abilities, unrealistic enough to work as a moveset, and wouldn't be totally ruined with the removal of the blood effects and profanity. He has a new game coming out exclusively on a Nintendo system in the near future. I mean, really, what else do you need from the guy? In addition to his beam katana, Travis also has a myriad of wrestling techniques at his disposal. Putting these together could make a really unique combination of characters like Marth and Incineroar, and feel free to include Wario in that combination as well if you choose to use the Spelltiger as a side special or something. And more than anyone else featured on this countdown, there are so many possibilities for a fun final smash. It just comes down to whether you prefer something like a Tiger transformation, a Darth Travis onslaught, or if you're like me and want to see the Glastonbury slice a hole right through the stage a la Odin in Midgar. Throw in the motel parking lot as a stage and Henry as an Echo Fighter, and I'll be satisfied with this franchise no matter how many more Fire Emblem characters find their way onto the roster. If you gave me the choice, the spot would still obviously go to Aloy. But I'm choosing to force myself to be slightly realistic, and Travis Touchdown has probably the best odds of any character on this entire list of making his way into Super Smash Bros. It just so happens that I'd be totally fine with that. Happy smashing, folks!
Hey, phrasing!
That is all.